Just 36 hours after Prince William ordered a comprehensive review of security costs for Archie and Lilibet, Prince Harry found himself in a desperate race against time to prove the very existence of his children in the eyes of the British monarchy. This was not a routine administrative check. It was a cold, calculated institutional strike by the future king. In a rare and carefully crafted statement released through Kensington Palace, Prince William confirmed he had authorized an internal review of all security expenses related to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex from 2020 to the present. The world watched in shock as the mask finally slipped from the most carefully controlled institution in Britain. The palace statement used terms like transparency, accountability, and responsible management of resources. But the subtext was devastating. The Crown was no longer willing to fund a narrative it could not verify. According to internal documents, security costs for the Sussex family had been regularly adjusted upwards based on a minor heir classification. This procedure usually triggers additional personnel and enhanced perimeter measures. However, the audit revealed a haunting discrepancy. While the financial records showed the charges, the operational security logs, the deployment lists, and site verification reports showed no concurrent records of Archie or Lilibet being present at the locations mentioned. A senior security source, speaking on the condition of anonymity, described the situation as an administrative anomaly that could no longer be ignored. In the world of royal protection, operational confirmation is mandatory. Presence is the only proof the system accepts. For 5 years, Archie and Lilibet have been conspicuously absent from royal storytelling, missing from official speeches and family milestones. Now, William's modernization of the monarchy's finances has brought the ghost children of Windsor to the forefront of a constitutional crisis. The silence that Harry and Meghan once used as a shield has suddenly become their greatest liability. This institutional audit did not merely stop at the financial ledgers. It cast a cold, clinical light on the Sussex's inner circle, specifically the selective and reserved role of Doria Ragland. Despite having numerous interview opportunities since 2021, Ragland has persistently refused to discuss the fundamental details surrounding Meghan's pregnancies, the births of Archie and Lilibet, or their daily upbringing and habits. Her consistent use of neutral language to emphasize privacy has evolved from a personal preference into a structural crack in the narrative that the palace can no longer ignore. In a public institution, prolonged silence regarding those in the line of succession is often interpreted not as protection, but as a failure of institutional transparency. Observers have identified a chilling pattern in the family photos circulated between 2022 and 2024. The children are almost always absent, obscured, or their appearances perfectly coincide with significant legal or financial disputes. These are moments where royal lineage takes on a material or symbolic weight, leading Kensington Palace investigators to treat these images as strategic tools rather than candid family moments. Prince William's team is now scrutinizing the metadata of these releases, searching for the honest vulnerability that the Sussex media machine has allegedly failed to provide. A senior royal historian summarized the discomfort by noting that, while presence is not definitive proof, the lack of operational records required for a public institution to function cannot be overlooked. The alarm bells inside the palace were further triggered by a single line in a 2022 financial summary regarding reimbursable costs for child safety equipment. When the audit team sought verification from 3 different internal departments, the answer was unanimous. No one could verify that these items were ever used or that the children were present. The Metropolitan Police and Royal Guard command logs for the same periods showed only 2 adults, the Duke and Duchess, with no record of infant transport, on-call pediatricians, or childcare staff. For Prince Harry, the realization is shattering. The privacy shield Meghan constructed has created an evidentiary void that now threatens to erase his children from the institutional reality of the Crown. The audit, led by Prince William, reached far beyond financial ledgers, extending into the high-stakes world of British diplomacy and international protocol. By mid-December 2025, A startling and unsettling revelation emerged from the British consulate in Los Angeles and the Foreign Office in London. There is a total absence of official, verifiable records for Archie Harrison and Lilibet Diana within the diplomatic system. Despite their high-ranking status in the line of succession, investigative teams found that no applications for British identity documents, no requests for consular assistance, and no official notifications of birth for registration purposes were ever filed through the proper channels in the United States. In the clinical world of international relations, if an individual does not exist on paper, they do not exist in reality, and the Sussex children have officially become the diplomatic ghosts of the British state. This consular gap became a glaring constitutional crisis during King Charles III's U.S.-sponsored climate engagements in San Francisco and Boston in 2023. Behind the scenes, numerous formal requests were sent from the palace to the Montecito estate to arrange private family visits, intended to allow the king to finally connect with his youngest grandchildren. These were not merely personal gestures, they were institutional attempts to verify the physical presence of members currently listed on the royal succession. However, every single invitation was politely but firmly declined by Meghan's office, citing reasons that ranged from napping schedules to potential invasions of media privacy. To seasoned diplomats, these excuses felt like a strategic wall designed to prevent any official verification of the children's status. A senior Foreign Office official, speaking with characteristic caution, noted that in the entire history of the British diplomatic service, no representative has ever physically viewed the children. This unprecedented situation led Princess Anne and Princess Catherine to submit a separate, high-priority memorandum to King Charles. The document called for an immediate administrative freeze on all titles and privileges associated with the Sussex children until biometric and legal verification could be provided to the state. The logic was cold and resolute. The Crown cannot justify the expenditure of taxpayer funds or the maintenance of constitutional titles for individuals who remain invisible to the government. When the king asked if William supported this hardline approach, the answer was a definitive yes. The monarchy is now moving toward a legal and symbolic separation from a branch of the family that exists only in carefully edited stories, proving that in the modern era of the crown, absence is no longer a private choice. It is a functional disqualification. What truly sounded the alarm inside the high walls of Buckingham Palace was a single, unassuming line hidden deep within the 2022 financial summary. That line read, "Additional costs incurred due to the presence of young children. Installation of a child car seat and ensuring the safety of the bassinet is required. The cost is reimbursable." On the surface, it appeared to be a routine expenditure for a royal family traveling with toddlers. However, when Prince William's audit team asked the simple question, who saw these items being used? The silence from 3 different internal departments was deafening. There was no verification, no photographic evidence from security logs, and no staff testimony to confirm that these nurseries on the go ever existed outside of a digital invoice. The discrepancy became even more glaring when investigators cross-referenced the Sussex's high-profile travels. During the trip from Montecito to New York in September 2021, and the return to London for Queen Elizabeth II's Platinum Jubilee in June 2022, the security mode recorded footage and logs for only 2 adults, the Duke and the Duchess. Internal logs from the Royal Guard Command and communications with U.S. contractors revealed a haunting lack of infrastructure for children. There was no infant transport vehicle, no accompanying babysitter, no on-call pediatrician, and 0 arrangements for childcare services. A source familiar with the audit noted, "It was just 2 adults and a very tightly supervised photography team." This wasn't just a failure of logistics, it was a breach of royal protocol that demands every member of the lineage be accounted for at all times. For the House of Windsor, where lineage and legitimacy are the very pillars of existence, this administrative anomaly is not just destabilizing, it is institutionally unsustainable. If the state is paying for the protection and transport of heirs, those heirs must be physically present. The The lack of information about Archie and Lilibet in these critical security windows suggests a strategic ghosting of the royal record. Prince William's audit has effectively trapped the Sussex narrative in a corner. Either the children were intentionally hidden from their own security detail, or the financial claims made under the Sussex waiver clause were fundamentally deceptive. As the investigation accelerates, Harry is left to face a shattering reality. The institutional invisibility of his children is no longer a conspiracy theory. It is now a documented fact within the royal archives. In the visual language of the British monarchy, what is not seen is effectively deemed not to exist. As Prince William's audit progressed, it highlighted a chilling trend of symbolic erasure that has accelerated over the last few years. The most public and painful manifestation of this policy appeared in the official royal Christmas cards and anniversary commemorations. In the British royal family's Christmas card for 2024, a striking detail caught the eye of eagle-eyed observers. While even Prince Andrew's dogs were permitted a symbolic presence in the festive narrative, Archie and Lilibet were nowhere to be found. For a monarchy that takes immense pride in being a continuation of bloodline and duty, this omission was not an accident. It was a calculated institutional statement. This pattern of erasure extends to the digital archives of the Crown. While official social media accounts frequently post archival photos of Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis to celebrate birthdays and milestones, the Sussex children have been met with a wall of silence. For example, on Prince George's birthday, the palace shared candid moments of him with his siblings, but never a single verified photo of him with his cousin Archie. In a quiet but profound moment during a strategic meeting at Sandringham in October 2025, Princess Anne reportedly interrupted a discussion about including images of the Sussex children in the Platinum Anniversary Archive. Her words were sharp and final. "There is nothing to store." This wasn't a comment on emotional coldness, but a reflection of the palace's protocol. First philosophy: if an event or a person is not officially verified and witnessed, they have no place in the royal record. The archiving teams working on the Windsor Generations Timeline project reported a devastating finding. There is less verified media coverage and institutional documentation of Archie and Lilibet than there is of Zara Tindall's youngest child, who holds no title and lives entirely out of the spotlight. By mid-December 2025, the palace had moved from a position of protecting privacy to one of institutional invisibility. The scripts for the upcoming 2025 Christmas broadcast were even revised to remove general terms like grandchildren living abroad. For Prince Harry, the realization that his children are being systematically airbrushed out of the history of the House of Windsor is shattered by the cold truth. The monarchy operates on witnessed continuity, and without that presence, his children have become little more than a ghost story in the official annals of the Crown. By mid-December 2025, Prince William's institutional audit took a sharp, aggressive turn across the Atlantic. It was no longer enough to analyze what was missing in London. The Crown needed to see what was happening in Montecito. William expanded the audit scope to include a request for access to the high-security visit logs and digital traces associated with the Sussex estate. Specifically, the investigative team targeted the digital footprints left by elite childcare brokerage companies, the ultra-exclusive agencies that provide high-tier nannies and pediatric specialists to California's elite. In the world of the 1%, these agencies keep meticulous records for insurance and security vetting. However, the audit hit a brick wall. There were zero traces of Archie or Lilibet, or any known aliases associated with the Sussex children in the databases of the agencies Meghan claimed to use. This childcare mystery sent shockwaves through the palace's legal team. For a family that frequently highlights the struggles of parenting in the spotlight, the total absence of a professional support staff record is an unprecedented red flag. Even more unsettling was the silence from secret diplomatic channels. Standard protocol for any member of the royal line living abroad dictates that the local British consulate maintains a health liaison for medical emergencies. This ensures that any hospital visit or specialist appointment is logged for the Crown's records. Yet, through these discreet channels, The audit confirmed that no medical appointments, no pediatric vaccinations, and no health certifications had been recorded for the children in over 3 years. The hidden truth that Harry is reportedly devastated to learn is that Meghan may have bypassed every official, verifiable system of childcare to maintain a level of privacy that has effectively rendered the children non-existent to the British state. The investigation into the Montecito villa didn't just find a lack of staff, it found a lack of continuity. Internal sources suggest that Doria Ragland, once the primary witness to the children's daily lives, has not stayed overnight at the estate for over a year. Reporters spotted Doria leaving a notary office in Vermont recently, and her refusal to verify Meghan's pregnancies or the children's upbringing has left Harry in an impossible position. He is now beginning to realize that the fortress of privacy Meghan built was actually a vacuum. By avoiding official childcare and medical brokers to keep the children hidden, Meghan inadvertently provided Prince William with the perfect legal justification to declare them institutional ghosts. For Harry, the realization is crushing. His wife's obsession with secrecy didn't just protect his children from the paparazzi, it erased them from the legacy of the crown. As the investigation reached its peak in December 2025, the atmospheric tension inside Buckingham Palace shifted from administrative concern to a cold, legal austerity. Prince William, supported by the unwavering Princess Anne, presented King Charles III with a high-stakes legal memorandum that would redefine the rules of the monarchy for the digital age. Titled Standards for Continuity of Succession and Institutional Verification, this document was the final blow to the Sussex's ghost narrative. The memorandum outlined a devastating new prerequisite. A name on a birth certificate is no longer sufficient to maintain a place in the line of succession. To remain a royal highness or an heir to the British throne, the state now requires active presence, documented, biometric, and legal verification by government authorities. This biometric ultimatum was designed with surgical precision. The memorandum recommended an immediate administrative freeze on the titles of Archie and Lilibet, moving their status from active heirs to pending clarification. The legal team, coordinated by Prince William, argued that the monarchy cannot afford to maintain a virtual lineage that has zero physical interaction with the state or the church. The most chilling part of the document was the June 2026 clause. It stated that if no biometric proof of presence verified by a neutral British government agency is provided before June 2026, all honorary claims and titles for the Sussex children will officially expire. They would not be stripped of their names, but they would be legally severed from the institutional body of the crown. When King Charles reviewed the document, he reportedly asked one simple question: did William agree? Princess Anne's response was immediate. He initiated it. This signaled a fundamental shift in power. The king, known for delaying emotionally charged decisions, finally realized that the future king had already moved past sentiment. Prince Harry's reaction upon learning of this ultimatum was described as completely shattered. He realized that the hidden truth, the lack of institutional evidence for his children's upbringing, was now being used to legally erase them from the future of the Windsor dynasty. The monarchy is no longer operating on trust. It is operating on verifiable data. For the Sussexes, the walls are closing in. They must either reveal the children to the very institution they fled, or watch them become the first ghost heirs in history to be legally removed from the royal story. By mid-December 2025, the atmosphere inside Buckingham Palace had transitioned from a state of crisis management to one of resolute, clinical separation. This phase, known internally among high-ranking courtiers as the Ghost Heir Protocol, represents a sophisticated method of institutional disengagement. Unlike the dramatic exiles of the past, this is not an act of public confrontation or an aggressive stripping of titles. Instead, it is an elegant but final retreat into silence. The British monarchy has decided that what cannot be verified will no longer be remembered. For Archie and Lilibet, this means they are being moved from the active pages of royal history to a long-term storage database stored, but no longer updated. The mechanics of this final separation are devastating in their subtlety. An internal order issued to the royal digital and archiving teams instructed that no further updates to family genealogies or personal records for the Sussex branch are permitted unless officially certified by a British government agency. Even charities with long-standing ties to the Crown have been discreetly advised to cease using the names or images of the children for any promotional purposes or campaigns. This is the process of fading a deliberate strategy to ensure that the Sussex lineage becomes a footnote rather than a chapter. A senior aide explained the rationale. "We are not tearing them down. We are simply choosing not to build on them." This distinction is the core of the Crown's self-preservation instinct. For Prince Harry, the psychological impact of this protocol is described as a shattering of his reality. He is witnessing the birth of a virtual wall, where his children are treated as ghost stories rather than living heirs. The realization that the King and Prince William have moved beyond the emotional entanglement of family disputes to a protocol-first reality is his greatest fear realized. The monarchy is effectively saying, "If you do not let us see the children, we will not show them to the world anymore." This is not an act of cruelty, but a re-establishment of the standards by which the monarchy relies to navigate modern scandals. By removing the children from the official narrative, the Crown protects itself from future legal or financial claims based on unverified stories, leaving Harry and Meghan to inhabit a palace of their own, making one filled with privacy, but devoid of a legacy. The most devastating blow to Prince Harry's defense of his family's lineage came not from London, but from a quiet, snow-covered notary office in Vermont. In the first week of December 2025, eagle-eyed observers and investigative journalists tracked Doria Ragland, once the most steadfast pillar of Meghan's inner circle, to a legal appointment that has since sent shockwaves through the royal legal teams. Doria was spotted leaving the building, accompanied by a high-level legal assistant, carrying folders that sources suggest contain sworn declarations of non-involvement. For years, Doria was the only person besides Harry and Meghan who could testify to the reality of the pregnancies and the daily lives of Archie and Lilibet. Her sudden move to notarize private documents, followed by her firm no comment when asked about spending Christmas with her grandchildren, signals a catastrophic withdrawal of support. In the clinical world of royal audits, this is known as the collapse of the primary witness. For Prince William's team, Doria's evasiveness is the final piece of the puzzle. If the children's maternal grandmother, the woman who reportedly stayed at Frogmore Cottage and Montecito, refuses to provide a sworn statement of witnessed presence to the British state, the legal house of cards falls. This vanishing witness phenomenon extends beyond Doria. The audit revealed that several former employees, including nannies and security guards who were listed as child-facing staff, have similarly refused to sign affidavits for the Royal Guard Command. When approached by palace legal advisors, these individuals chose to rely on their non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, or simply claimed they were never in a position to verify the identity of the minors. For Prince Harry, the hidden truth is becoming an unbearable weight. He is discovering that while he believed they were protecting his children's privacy, he was actually presiding over the systematic removal of every legal witness to their royal status. Without Doria's testimony, and with the silence of former staff, Harry has no third-party verification to counter William's ghost heir protocol. The realization that his own mother-in-law may be legally distancing herself from the Sussex narrative has left him shattered and isolated. He is learning the hardest lesson of the monarchy. In a world of power and protocol, a story without witnesses is eventually treated as a lie. As the final days of December approach, the Sussexes find themselves in a cold reality, where their children's names remain on a website, but their existence has been effectively deleted from the legal memory of the Crown. The clock is now ticking toward June 2026, a date that has become the event horizon for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. As Prince William's audit concludes, the British monarchy has delivered its final, chilling verdict. The era of trust-based royalty is officially over. The hidden truth that Harry has finally been forced to confront is that in the eyes of the British state, his children have moved from being heirs to being administrative ghosts. King Charles III, in a rare display of institutional iron, has reportedly signed the final decree. There will be no more public debates, no more emotional pleas, and no more strategic leaks from Montecito that can change the clinical reality of the Crown's new active presence law. The conclusion of this audit marks a historical shift in how the monarchy survives. Prince William has successfully transitioned the institution from a family business into a modern, data-driven entity. By demanding biometric and legal verification for anyone claiming the protection and prestige of the Crown, William has effectively pruned the Windsor family tree of its most controversial branches. The message to the world is clear: transparency is the only currency the modern monarchy accepts. For Archie and Lilibet, the June 2026 deadline is not a threat, it is a final invitation to reality. If they do not appear, if their medical and legal records are not verified by the British state, they will quietly fade into the annals of history as the children of a prince who chose a ghost story over a dynasty. Harry is reportedly devastated, not just by the loss of titles, but by the realization that Meghan's privacy strategy has backfired in the most permanent way possible. By hiding the children to control the narrative, she inadvertently provided the palace with the very vacuum it needed to erase them. As this report ends, the silence from Buckingham Palace is no longer a matter of ignoring a scandal, it is a matter of closing a file. The 1,000-year-old institution has survived by knowing when to let go of what it cannot verify. For the first time in history, a branch of the family has been severed not by a sword, but by a legal memorandum. The era of the Sussex heirs is ending, not with a bang, but with the quiet closing of a royal ledger. The monarchy moves forward, modernized, verified, and resolute, leaving the ghosts of Windsor behind in the fog of California.